and present to others our speaker for this occasion, a man who loves sharing his ideas, thoughts, and feelings with children, a man who believes in the power of having a voice and exercising that voice, a man who believes that you can take a reluctant reader and teach them the power of dance on a page, and a man who throughout his work believes that you can change the world one word at a time. Please join me in bringing back home to the podium our very own Kwame Alexander.
I think the message is, who are the people, what are the places, what are the things in my life that have had an impact or an influence on who I became? And I like to think that Chesapeake played a role in that, and how my family, this city, played a significant role in who I became as an artist, as a writer, as a man. So we're gonna talk about that tonight. We have come a long way in Chesapeake because the fact that Dr. Adams so elegantly and eloquently recognized and acknowledged this young sister, Shania, who's written a children's book. When I was in high school at Great Bridge, I graduated in 1986. Not only did we not see any black authors in our school or in the city, I don't ever recall seeing a black author outside of my house. And I lived with two of them. I don't ever remember seeing a book written by a black author in my classroom. I don't ever recall seeing a book with a black character in it in the school library. The fact that we are sitting here today and recognizing this young sister, Shania, it says a lot. It says a lot about who you are. It says a lot about where we are. And I just want to take this moment and make sure that you acknowledge that, because it says a lot about who you are and where you're headed. Do y'all understand what I'm saying? And then I had an opportunity to speak to some students from Great Bridge High School on the yearbook committee and journalism club. And they asked some really important questions that I think are gonna guide my talk today. One of the questions was there a moment in your life where you thought that you were gonna be a writer, who wrote something that mattered to young people? Was there like a moment where you knew your words were gonna have that type of impact? The other question was, were there some teachers who impacted you and helped you become who you are today? My favorite book as a 3-year-old, which I used to run around the house screaming, was Fox, Socks, Knox, Box. Fox in socks, socks in box. I loved me some Dr. Seuss. And so as a 3-year-old growing up in New York City, I memorized this book and read it and recited it every day. Well, one particular day I was at school. I went to a school called Riverside. It was inside of a church called Riverside Church, built by John D. Rockefeller. And so at the end of the day of school, I built a house out of these wooden blocks. I wanted to show my mom and surprise her. This was a castle, in my mind. And so she arrived to pick me up. And before she, came in to get me, this kid came over and he kicked the blocks over and knocked my house down. And of course, I went up to him with my weapons, the only weapons I had, and I said, "Those were my blocks that you flipped. Lest you want a quick payback, better fix my quick block stack." Right? And he started crying. And when my mother came in, the teachers were like, "Mrs. Alexander, we need to talk to you. Your son Kwame is arrogant. He intimidates all the other kids with his words." And my mother said, "Thank you." We teach him to use his words. I couldn't articulate it then, but this was the moment where I knew that words were going to play a profound role in my life, where I knew the power of words. My mother was the first teacher. She was that first person who made me. And my fondest memory of high school was the crushes I had and playing tennis. And I started out being a pretty average tennis player and ended up by my senior year being the #1 player on the team. So I learned a lot about resilience and perseverance at Great Bridge High School and in Chesapeake. I'm writing a book now about tennis, about Althea Gibson, but certainly it impacted my writing because everything I do is about helping young people understand that they have a voice, that they matter, that they, one of my favorite quotes is, "I am the greatest, not because I am better than anyone, but because no one is better than me." And that's something I learned here in Chesapeake.
Thank you very much.